Ashes of Creation has a major problem. And this is very clearly, I wonder who the problem is. I wonder who it is. Here we go.
Step 1. Insert generic Ashes of Creation video. Done. Step 2. Dramatic music. Okay. Right, I've got that one. Step 3. Make an outlandish statement to get views. Okay,
there we go.
Here we go.
Alright, it worked.
Stop! You violated the law.
This video is going to piss a lot of people off.
Okay. Thank God. Thank God. I am so glad that we have a video that's interesting rather than the same fucking... Am I reacting to somebody reacting to me, reacting to somebody else, reacting to a game that's not even released? At 3:50 in the morning? Let's go. Regurgitated bullshit.
Here we go.
That everybody says over and over and over.
We got the bold man reacting left, right, and center, and
True.
Mr. Top 10 MMORPGs to play with no friends.
If you know you're making content that's going to piss people off, you're just looking to incite people. You're looking to get that reactionary view, that reactionary response from people.
I mean, I mainly got pissed off by the shit Facebook quality memes, but...
I have no problem with making content that makes people mad as long as there's not like a clear victim to the content. I love hot takes. I love wrong opinions because I think wrong opinions are thought exercises because it makes you think about why an opinion is wrong. I think people do way more thinking whenever they're thinking about why an opinion is wrong than whenever it's right.
You know, I guess the message also did piss people off. Okay, it's safe to say this video sent out a few ripples. So much so that Steve and Sharif actually waded into the conversation within the comments section. But what exactly got said to piss people off? Well, let's take a quick look.
Ashes of Creation in its currently planned design is not made for you. If you are a WoW player, an ESO player, a Final Fantasy XIV player, a Guild Wars 2 player, chances are you're gonna hate AOC once you get past the first few days.
Wait a minute, but I'm one of those players. Oh no.
How would you feel about an open world MMO with always on PvP that you could never turn off?
I think it would be amazing and I really like the idea. It's why I play more online too.
82% of you that had an opinion one way or the other said, no way, not for me. Look at this guy! And I would wager that the 18% that voted that you would want this, a substantial portion of you have never played an MMO with the AOC's proposed PvP system.
And you know what? That is an amazing point, Lucky. Thank you for bringing this up.
A substantial portion of you have never played an MMO with the AOC's proposed PvP system.
And that includes you, Lucky, and everyone else who is shitting on the PvP in this game, because it's not even out yet.
Well, I think that could go both ways. Because, like, if he says that it's good and you're saying that if he says that it's bad and you're saying that it's good and neither people have played the game, I feel like everybody's just kind of making it up as they go. Most of the people that like these kinds of games where you can just fucking overpower other people with really good gear, yep, they're garbage. These are brain-dead morons that can't win in a fair fight. That's right.
This guy here, I gotta kill him. He's the host.
I love how you show this. Because did I have Rivers of Blood? No. Did I have Moonveil Katana? No. The guy was animation locked. He couldn't even avoid a jump attack. This is the easiest thing to fucking avoid. You're goddamn right I killed him in one hit, because the reality is he should never get hit.
Now, one of the biggest gripes I have...
Yeah, I don't want to hear about this shit.
...is that he's really hating on PvP.
Being made for PvP Andes who are already a small subset of the already niche community that...
Niche.
In case you don't know.
Niche.
One more time.
Niche.
Thank you.
That's
already niche community that is the MMO player base. And it's not even made for all PvPers. It's made for the ones who want PvP all the time.
But they've now had 30 years of blah, 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 and where has that led us?
There's a lot of generalization going on here.
You want me to be totally honest? That's the first time I've ever heard that girl speak in my life. I've never listened to anything she said. Because it's like, to me, I was like, it's some 16-year-old girl. What the fuck does she know? No, I don't want to listen to this. No, let's listen to let's listen to the scientists again. Let's see what they say. Okay. Oh, she's 18 now? All right, let's move on. Let's preemptively move on.
And I get the feeling it's because he doesn't like PvP. The thing is, I actually played The Elder Scrolls Online, which is another game that Lucky Ghost mains, and I've never, ever seen him do PvP.
Okay, I don't care. Listen, I don't care what the law says. If I see this, I'm fucking the shit out of it. Raw dog!
So for someone who's predominantly PvE to come look at Ashes of Creation and say, hey, PvP's gonna ruin the game, it comes across as very entitled and just not understanding the true DNA of Ashes of Creation. So I'm gonna refer back to the...
I think that, like, there's a lot of people that, for example, like, this is, I can't speak for him, I don't know what he does, but if you want to look at PvP games, you know, and this is just on Steam, for example, Dark Souls has some PvP, but 95% of the time I play PvE. Obviously, I've done a good amount of PvP on Dark Souls, especially Dark Souls 3. I played that quite a bit. You also have games, I mean, Fall Guys is a PvP game. This is a PvP game you can play against other people. Let's see some more PvP games that I've played myself. I think one of the big ones is PUBG. Put 800 hours into PUBG. Rust. I love Rust. It's an amazing game. I put 158 hours into Rust. I wish I had done more. Let's see some more. Are there any other ones on Steam that I played? I've also put enough time into Apex Legends. I got level 100 whenever the preseason happened. I played the game probably 1,000 hours. Warzone probably 2,000 hours. Overwatch 2, I played that enough to uninstall it 5 times. It might be 6 tonight. We'll see what happens. But the reality is, like, a lot of us, and Lucky could be the same way, I can't speak for him, I'll say for myself, is that we like PvP. Oh, Fortnite's another one, too. We like PvP, we just don't like PvP in MMOs, which I think is very different. Does your dad like PUBG?
Kickstarter video, just to remind people what this game is about.
It's really about 4 primary pillars of our development. It's about our node system, which is an integral part of exactly how the world works and interacts with you as the player. It's also about our meaningful conflict, PvP, and how you can catalyze change in the environment around you.
I'm also going to ask you, the viewer, to help come up with a solution. If you think of a way to improve upon this system to protect normal players from griefers, leave it in the comments below.
Well, it's been a great day today. Can't wait for more.
Undoubtedly, griefing is bad. People don't like to be...
Well, I think that also, like, if you go back and you look at, like, what did Steven say here? Like, let's listen to what he said.
So about our meaningful conflict, PvP, and...
I think that you can very easily make the argument that meaningful conflict in PvP really isn't ganking. Like, it's not very meaningful at all. Especially if whenever you're ganking somebody, they don't really lose anything. So I don't think that this is as strong of an argument as he's making it out to be. Yeah, sounds more like this sounds more like Sieges and not like open world PvP that's always on where you can just gank people over and over. Yeah, ganking a caravan or something like that. Like that's what I would assume that he meant by that. But we'll go ahead and we'll watch the rest of it.
People don't like to be griefed, and, you know, as fun as it is, it's an arsehole thing to do. However, I've played at open world PvP recently, which wasn't 20 years old, and do you know what happens to griefers? Let me show you. I think it's because you're called Rodent. Like, when you call yourself after, like, a rat or something, people just have the wrong idea. Oh, is that Keeble? Oh, no, it's not Keeble. Hi. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oof. That was not nice. Rodent here had been going down into the sewers and killing a bunch of people. and the friendly guild who protect players, which is the one who just snuck up and killed him, got their revenge and took all his stuff. And that has been mostly my experience of open world PvP. You have players...
I want to contextualize the game that he's talking about, because obviously you guys might not really know about it. We'll go ahead and pull this up. It's not Lost Ark, it's the same website. It's not loading. Okay, there we go. So this is the game that he's using as the gold standard as an example of what good online open world PvP is. So just keep that in mind.
Who are out there trying to kill anyone and everyone, and then you have the players who are going around protecting anyone and everyone. And this is just an amazing balance, and the main thing is it provides entertainment and excitement. But do you know what else has griefers? PvE. So maybe we should go around and cancel all PvE games.
Hold up, somebody said what you said made no sense. You control in PvE. So what did I say that didn't make sense? You can grief and troll in PvE, the fact that you act like PvE is pure and non-griefable. When did I ever say that you couldn't grief and troll in PvE? Whenever I just used an example of myself griefing and trolling somebody in PvE content in Wrath of the Lich King less than a month ago.
There you have it, boys and girls. Let's cancel PvE in every MMO.
What? So let's look at a couple of PvE trolling mechanisms, right? So, for example, with the example that I had used in what do you call it? In this video that I had originally watched, is that I used to banish people's mobs that they were fighting in the Elemental Plateau and Burning Crusade. Blizzard actually fixed this issue, and they made it to where you can't banish other players' NPCs, and it says that target is tapped. If you guys have never noticed that. This is just, so they actually did fix this. So that you can't do that anymore. On top of that, the thing that I was doing against that DK inside of Zuldrak, which was what I was talking about in this video, if I did that all day, and I kept resetting the bosses over and over and over to troll people, I would 100% get suspended. Because griefing people in the game through PvE, the other alternative you have to keep in mind is that griefing through PvE usually has no recourse. So, like, for example, if you're just having some random guy banish the mobs, you can't solve this. So I actually think that PvE griefing is worse than PvP griefing, because at least in PvP griefing, you can kill the guy. You can get somebody else to kill the guy. You have some way of stopping it. But with PvE griefing, there's nothing that you can do about it.
I'm going to propose a solution where everyone wins, where the PvPers get what the PvPers want, and the PvEers get what the PvEers want, one of which is to drastically improve their planned flagging system to prevent people from simply circumventing all of its punishments by griefing people until they die.
Okay, so first suggestion is to keep the original system but improve it. I have a counter argument. Have you actually played with this current system in Ashes of Creation?
Have you?
Okay, moving on.
It's not reinventing any wheels, and they're really...
I feel like neither people have. So, like, where's the value in this? Like, one person's saying you're wrong because you haven't played it, and then another person's saying they're right because they haven't played it. I don't know about this.
Aren't any downsides. Perhaps the developers should just consider two types of servers: AOC PvE servers and AOC PvP servers.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
This is by far one of the worst suggestions ever, and just no.
Why?
No. It's one community. You're not supposed to divide it. You're not supposed to have two separate entities. It is one big community. Okay.
I wonder, like, from his perspective, like, how is it different? Because, like, yeah, this is just a ridiculous thing to say. Because you have people that are on, you know, EU realms that are not part of your server, that you will never interact with. It is not one community. Everybody knows that. You already have existing barriers like language and region. You also have different servers. In most of these MMOs, you don't have anybody that's able to interact with each other cross-server. So if you have a PvE server, that doesn't affect anybody else. I think the only reason why people don't want a PvE server is because they're worried that if there is a PvE server, everybody will just play that because the PvP server isn't fun. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? It's like, why is this a problem for you? Unless, see, like, you would never worry about having a PvE server because you would assume that the PvP server would have better gameplay. So if the PvP server had better gameplay, then why would it matter if there's a PvE server if it's an inferior version of the game? There's a lot of people that play, quote, inferior versions of the game. Force people to not have fun. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that these people fundamentally are worried that their PvP server is going to end up like this. Because if you weren't worried about that, like WoW players weren't worried about that with Wrath of the Lich King, they would have no problem with PvE servers being added.
Supposed to divide it. You're not supposed to have two separate entities. It is one big community. Okay.
I would love if this was true, by the way. If everybody in the entire world was connected on one server simultaneously, I would fucking love that. But that's not the world that we live in yet. Like, yeah, that would be so fucking cool. Then why are you hating? Because it's not going to happen anytime soon. Like, yeah, that's why. I think, like, wouldn't it be fucking cool if you could actually have wars against, like, all the guys that are, like, speaking Chinese or something? You're like, man, I fucking hate these guys. They're always farming our spots. And you actually have a war and, like, all the guys that are, like, speaking Chinese, they all get together. And then all the fucking K-Konas get together and they fucking go to war with each other in the game. I think that shit is cool. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. It's like a whole nother layer of things. Yeah, for an MMO, yeah, an MMO World War. I think that would just be so I would, like, for psychological reasons, I would love to see how that would play out. Absolutely. I think that would be so awesome. But that's not what the game's going to be.
Just keep it together. Just a little bit together. Also, who uses the troll face still? Like, what year is this?
Maybe you do something completely...
Don't you fucking make fun of Trollface whenever you're using Doge, okay? Doge is only 1 year older or younger than that. Now, I remember I was there.
Different, and you have specific areas that are PvP on and areas that are PvP off on one server. Some nodes are PvP, some nodes are PvE. Some dungeons allow it, some don't.
Once again, this is just another way to separate and divide the community.
There are already going to be places where you probably can't PvP people. You will probably not be able to kill people in the very early starting zones. There will probably be nodes where you're not able to kill people based off of the RP of the node. Whether it's like some, you know, like for example, in like Highlander where they wouldn't fight inside religious places. Like, I feel like there's a lot of nuance to this. Yeah, or like the Vatican or something like that. Like, this is just, this is, again, a structurally unsound argument. Because you know that there will be places like this. So the idea that any time that this happens is bad is just automatically thrown out the window. So, like, let's not make a binary good-bad analysis on this. Because we all know that there are exceptions to that.
It just sounds like you really want this to be a PvE solo game, which it isn't. The fact is, when you have PvP only zones and...
Well, he didn't say that it isn't a PvE solo game, because actually Steven said that anybody can play the game. He wants to make it a game that anybody can play, PvX. So that means that you don't necessarily... I think that there will probably be ways to play the game solo, because that's what an MMO is. See, what these people actually don't realize is that an MMO is a game that some people can play solo, because an MMO gives you the agency to decide whether you want to play solo.
PvE only zones, people just don't cross over. You end up splitting the community. For example, on New World you have the whole flag for PvP, and not that many people do it. And that's not fun. If it was a case that everyone was flagged for PvP at all times, that game would be so different. And different...
Yeah, it would be different. And so the thing is that there's a reason why New World got rid of that. Yes, I understand that, like, it's very easy to go and say that. Yeah, he proved his point. Exactly, yeah.
In a good way. Instead, we have a watered-down version of what could have been, and we have PvE Care Bears running around chopping trees to their heart's delight. Yeah. And that's just not as fun as what it could have been.
To who? To who? And that's what I'm saying, right? It's like for him, right? And like, that's fine. You can make that argument that it's not fun for you. You don't like that. You want to play a full loot PvP game, or maybe not full loot, but you want to play a PvP game where you can kill people whenever you want. That's totally fine. But I also think that it's totally fine to say, hey, these are what these games create. These are the amount of people that these games make, and the amount of people that these, the amount of people that these games attract. And again, you can never argue with numbers, and that's the best thing about them, is that whenever the numbers aren't on your side, everybody always has to go and make a fucking excuse of, oh, this is actually why or that. Of course, it's all subjective. Yeah, exactly. No one wants open world PvP, which means AOC won't have population. These gankers want. AOC won't grow, get timely updates. That's true, too. He wants his idea forced on everyone. Yes, exactly. So this is really what it comes down to, is that in New World, there are a lot of people that go on with flagged PvP. I'll even give you an example here. Obviously, like, it's not like everybody. I wouldn't even say it's the majority of people. But to say that, like, nobody uses it, this is just a factually untrue statement. I think that, again, you can go over and like, let's see here. Asmongold, New World, Brimstone. Let's go ahead and just look and see how many people are PvPing last time I played the game. 6 times. This is whenever I played it. I think there are people PvPing around me, even. There's like nobody around in this area. I don't know how to feel about these wings. Some of these. I'm excited. I think there were some about Elite right here. Let's see. Yo. There's 2 people right there that are PvP flagged right there. So this idea that, like, nobody goes around the New World PvP flagged is just simply not true. And I'm just using one example, right? So this doesn't really prove it or not. But what I'm saying is that the idea that, like, this killed New World and people don't do this, I feel like this is just not fucking true. I think there's a lot of people that go around and do PvP on. Absolutely, I've seen it. I've played the game a lot. Here we go. It's a 4-hour video, found 2 PvPers. Yeah, but we looked at 5 people. You're right. Yeah, 2 people was not a very good measurement, but I looked at 5 people total in the game. Here we go.
I have nothing against Lucky Ghost personally, but that video...
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
There was a clear lack in research. It was very scaremongery. It had a Raid Shadow Legend advert in the middle of it.
But you know what they will like? Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This guy's a clown. This guy is such a shill.
Just a pro tip if you're trying to...
I mean, it's not really a shill, right? I mean, like, I would say, like, a shill is whenever you're selling something, like, underhand. Like, I mean, yeah, he took a sponsor, right? I mean, I'm sure this guy probably has ads inside of his videos. How is it acceptable to have advertising inside of YouTube and have ads in your video that are unskippable unless you have ad blocker, but somehow it's less ethical and less okay for you to have ads inside of your videos that any viewers can skip through. Logically, this doesn't make sense. I would view the more ethical thing to actually be to include your own ads and to not have monetization on your channel in the first place. Because the monetization on your channel leads to cookies, which leads to different things where you're able to be tracked more. They're able to get more of your data so they can send you more personalized ads. Some people could view that as an invasion of privacy. But with a Raid Shadow Legends sponsor inside of a video, none of those things happen. So if you want to make an argument that having a Raid Shadow Legends sponsor is somehow insincere or it damages his perspective, I think that you could make that same argument to having any monetized content on the internet. And I think that the argument would be stronger even for monetized content that actually exists through the Google ad program.
I make some big dramatic video, don't do a fucking Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship in the middle of it. Like, keep that for your fluff pieces. However, there is one shining light to come from this, and that is, of course, Stephen Sharif's massive balls. The fact that Stephen commented and just doubled down on PvP and explained as to why it's going to be so great, just honestly gives you so much reassurance as a consumer of this game. It is super refreshing.
Which, to keep in mind, by the way, whenever you read this last sentence, which is, of course, why it will require considerable testing and feedback. So this clearly means that nothing is really set in stone. And I think he's probably going to do what I've said that I think they should do. Release it the way that you think it should work, and then let people play it from there. Don't start course correcting before people haven't gotten on the course yet.
As a consumer of this game, it is super refreshing to see a game development team actually make a game that they want to play, as opposed to making a game for everyone so they can make more money.
I have to also say that the last example that I have of making a game for everyone versus making a game that they want to play, I think the last time that somebody used that example was Chris Wilson whenever he was justifying a lot of the changes that were made. I think this was during Expedition League, I don't remember exactly which league, that were wildly unpopular and caused a pretty big exodus from the game. So I don't think that, yeah, the vision, right? And this is the same thing with the Arc Nemesis mods in this league as well. So I think that if you look at another example of people making a game that they want to play, also like another example of that is that, you know, remember whenever World of Warcraft got rid of a lot of the different paintings inside of the game that had, you know, scantily clad women, etc. One of the developers actually came on Twitter and said, well, what about what we want in the game? What about, you know, how the game makes us feel? And I think this was also received quite negatively, because whenever you put a game out and you put it out for a wide audience, of course you should make a game that you want. But you also shouldn't be surprised whenever people go and they say, hey, you know, this isn't what we want. SJW Asmongold, wait, no, I said I didn't like this. I want the half-naked girls with their titties out. I want that back in the game. I want it back in the game now. Absolutely. Yeah, that's not devs. Yeah, it was. There was a specific dev that said that. What do you mean? I don't like go through naming names, right? Because it's like sometimes people go and harass the guy or something like that. But overall, yes, it's true. You can look it up if you want. One dev. I think it was 2, but I don't know about that. I think that it could have been him saying that and then other developers supporting him in him saying that. Which, does that mean that it's only him saying that, or the other developers supporting him imply that they are saying it too? It's hard to say. But what I'm really trying to get at here is that I think that making a game for yourself and doing something like that for yourself, you always have the agency to do that in the same way that other people have the agency to say that it's wrong.
So yes, Lucky Ghost video, I don't agree with it.
So I'm just like, the reason I'm saying this, right, is I gave 2 examples of developers making a game that they wanted to play rather than the game that the audience wanted, and that having a negative effect on the audience and the game itself. So I don't think that this in itself is a fundamentally good thing based off of those 2 examples.
I felt like it was bad, but listen, the best thing to come out of it is, of course, the fact that Ashes of Creation is going to stick to its key
Why is Elvis fading in and out?
principles. And on that note, I'm going to end the video. By all means, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to see more Ashes of Creation content, leave 69 likes, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. With that, bye-bye.
Yeah, I think that I would love to have these guys on whenever Rich and I start doing Allcraft a bit more. I'd love to have these guys on and have a conversation about this stuff. Because, like, I feel like, again, I am so confident in debating this and talking about this, etc. Because at the end of the day, I have the facts. I remember everything that fucking happened, and I can prove it. And if somebody else wants to go up against that, I have no problem explaining myself. I'll say that for sure. Yes, I have no problem listening to other viewpoints and confronting them and listening to what their perspectives are. And in fact, I think that it's actually healthy for the game. I think it's healthy for any game for people to debate and argue with each other and talk about things that they like. Prefer that to echo chamber? I don't really. It's not about echo chamber or not. I mean, I think that, like, some people don't want to constantly have other people arguing with them and telling them that they're wrong in their stream, which I totally understand. That's how I feel. But at the same time, I also have no problem listening to what people have to say and, coming back at them. They need a podcast, easy money. Rich and I are going to be bringing back Allcraft next week. That's the plan. Probably on Friday. We're planning on Friday. That's the day that we have, planned on. This is an echo chamber. Every stream and every community is an echo chamber because every stream and every community attracts people that like that type of content, which is fundamentally an echo chamber. It doesn't matter whether you're watching this guy, my stream, Elon Musk's Twitter, Donald Trump's Twitter, Hassan's stream. Every stream is an echo chamber. That's just how it works. Because it would be natural for like-minded people to get together. Let me link the video for you guys. I really think that he should have used better arguments for why a PvE server is a bad idea. I think that a number of his arguments that he used were very, very bad. Hopefully he'll make another video following this up with better arguments. Lucky Ghost commented on the video. Oh, God. I feel like, again, let me read this. So and then he responded back to him. I'll respond. I'll read what he said, right? Because I can pretty much assume kind of what this guy is saying. What are his examples and reasonings here? And took the lighthearted comedy approach to something more full and serious. As I feel like there are enough arguments going around the whole PvP subject. When it comes to AOC, I want to add my 2 cents in a more creative way. In regards to ESO PvP, I'm worried how much I dog on it, period, because ESO is ran by devs who don't care or listen, so it genuinely feels good to let out the odd from a video at the done. I do stream PvP community every Friday. Must love that punishment. Okay. I understand you have a few hours racked up on Lineage 2, which has open world PvP, but it's not Ashes of Creation. The whole point of AOC is that it's not like any other MMO, which might just be a sales pitch, but if you check out the PvP flag system, they have some deep thoughts into how the system should work to avoid being mundane or flawed. Yes, what's the quote? No plan survives contact with the enemy. Yes, I think no plan and no design survives contact with the audience. Yes, I'm sure that they have a lot of plans on how this is supposed to work, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to work. They have a progressive death modifier that will most likely null a corrupted player to the point that will most likely, okay, here we go, or sorry, that will likely, to the point they will be effective. This is something that needs to be tested, hence why we eagerly await the Alpha 2. That's the way I feel. You also state you have 3 to 5k hours in open world PvP. It doesn't sound like someone who hated the flagging system and quit right away. Well, I don't really think this is true at all, because there are people that play a game that is open world PvP and they don't play it for the open world PvP in the game. Like, for example, I'm sure there's a lot of people in Black Desert that don't PvP all the time, but they just like grinding and they like making their character better and farming gold and getting bigger numbers. It's not necessarily a great argument, but okay. I understand you want to see AOC improve. That's why I make the videos that we do. And not all videos we'll make will be liked by all. Sometimes video is just tried to spark a debate. As said in the video, there's one you did and even got Steven commenting, which is huge. That's true. New World suffered from overhype, and they actually had a more PvE-oriented game before they started catering to the masses. That's not to say New World isn't popular, but it could have been bigger than WoW if they had stuck to some of their core ideas. That in itself is an opinion that I'm sure I'll get mocked for, but I'm okay with that. Again, the reasons why New World wasn't successful on launch had nothing to do with PvP. Literally nothing to do with it. The game was broken in a bunch of other ways. Imagine if it was let's do a thought exercise. Let's assume that PvP was always on in New World and everybody was running around fucking with the immunity bug because they were moving their monitor around over and over and over like this because that would make their character immune because they had some form of like a validation system that if the character was like lagging, it couldn't take any damage. So yeah, it would have been even worse. With how many bugs the game had that were just like game breaking and PvP breaking? Absolutely. I just... Oh! How is it that nobody understands? Oh my god. I'm very agitated. It's so completely delusional. Yeah, I guess so. Let's see here, because they didn't play the game, and I think that's really what it is. Most people, it's the same as remember whenever people talking shit about Tower of Fantasy. I said if you want to say that shit tastes bad, you have to eat it. And I went in there and I ate shit, and I found exactly why it tasted bad. I chewed it up and I was like, yep. There's a little bit too much corn in this one. It doesn't taste good. I don't like it. And I found out exactly what was wrong with it. Yeah, I was supposed to know if it should taste until we try it. I think that you can make some judgments without trying a game. Let's be obvious. Let's be honest here, right? With Pantheon, for example. I think that, yes, you can... Do I have to try out the game to think the combat sucks? I don't think I do. But at the same time, I think that you can have an opinion like that, but whenever your opinion is immediately refuted by any common sense just thought process, I don't know. I don't really think it goes anywhere. Let's see here. Whole PvP name calling was just funny. I know you listen to Asmongold, so we heard him sweaty neckbeards, among other stuff. It's all good banter. Yeah. The whole griefing debate is very subjective as how community is still an unknown. Very true. I mentioned before that Mortal Online 2, its guild's dedicated to anti-griefers, but at the same time, there was no one griefing. If there was no one griefing, as people call it, PvPing, the game would just be boring. Every story needs a villain. I think that this is... I'm trying to think, like, how does this make sense? Every story needs a villain. Because there's definitely a spectrum of villains. You have, like, a villain like Thanos, who thinks that they are effectively on the right side of history and everybody else is wrong. You have a villain like Dio Brando, who just thinks that everybody is beneath him and everybody should exist to serve him because he's just better than everybody else. You have a villain like the Joker, for example, who just wants to cause chaos. You also have a villain like Bane, for example, which actually doesn't want to wants to create chaos, but doesn't necessarily want to kill anybody except for the people that are preventing other people from creating chaos. So I think that whenever you go and you make an argument that every story needs a villain, I don't think that every villain needs to be a ganker. And I don't think that you can't have a story with a villain without it being somebody who you're ganking. So, like, for example, there's always going to be rivalries, and rivalries are effectively villains. So I don't think this is a fundamental here. See how corruption system works before we start to dismantle it. I totally agree with this. I'd rather see it adjusted than thrown out over concerns of something that might not even happen. I completely agree with this too. So it's funny, like I disagree with pretty much every version, every type of his argumentation I think is awful, but I do agree with the conclusion that I think that they should see how it works and don't course correct without starting the course. Yeah, villains like the church. Well, I think that you have different types of things like that, right? LG responded to the same thread. Oh, no, I think they went back and forth. Again, I'm excited to have Allcraft back, because whenever we have Allcraft back, we can actually bring people on and talk about this kind of stuff. So that's going to be great. I'm very excited. I'll link you guys the video again if you guys want to watch it again. We'll probably watch some more of this guy's videos if he does any more follow-ups about this too. Griefers are not villain. Arthas was? Yeah. I think that's it's always going to be a little bit different for each thing.